I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. On this segment, I'm going to discuss when to see a chiropractor. Most people tend to see a chiropractor when they're in pain, when they have a pain episode. And I think that that's a big mistake. That would be similar to only brushing your teeth and flossing your teeth when your teeth start hurting, or only going to the dentist when your teeth hurt. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Changing the oil in your car when the engine seizes. That's probably not a good idea either. You see my point? So, my proposal to you is considering chiropractic care for its specific design. Chiropractic care is a health and wellness type of philosophy. People tend to come in, first become introduced to chiropractic with pain, and I think that that's a big mistake because that means the problems have been there for a long time, right? Consider a wellness visit to a chiropractor. That's the best time to come in. Your best visit to a dentist is when the teeth look fine, you get a checkup and everything is fine, but then your dentist and dental hygienist will say, continue exercising your teeth every day, brush every day, floss every day, we'll check you out in 6 months. The mechanic will say, car checks out fine, all you needed was a front end alignment and an oil change, see you in 6 months or whatever it is. Keep those air pressures upright and make sure you're driving appropriately and so on and so forth. So you have to keep up the maintenance there. I suggest the same thing with your spine and your nervous system as a chiropractor. We can tend to avoid problems in the future as well if you stay under care. With my style of chiropractic, I also end up talking to my patients a lot about other health and wellness strategies. So I talk about spine, I talk about ergonomics, and I talk about daily spine exercises in my office, which is part of that prevention strategy. We also talk about healthy nutrition and regular physical exercise in my office and reducing stress and so on. In my office, I conduct classes that are available for my patients on all of these subject matters, and I have shows and TV programs and cable TV and now YouTube videos and DVDs for purchase in my office and CD programs. So it ends up being health and wellness across the board, not just for the spine and nervous system. That's the type of chiropractic that I have, is for wellness and prevention. Well, next is posture. We now know that when you receive chiropractic adjustments, that's what we call the treatments in a chiropractic office, chiropractic adjustments. We know that it's able to fire information into the nervous system and increase activity in the brain. That's pretty cool. Well, how do we know this? Let me talk about a couple of research articles just to warm you up to this. I'll just read the title of this one. Chronic back pain is associated with decreased prefrontal and thalamic gray matter density. Wow, let me put that into English for you. Chronic back pain is associated with shrinking of your brain. This research article out of the Journal of Neuroscience in 2004 states, the longer you have chronic back pain, the smaller your brain gets. That's a bummer. Which kind of means on the converse side that if your spine is functioning well, your brain will stay larger. You see? Pretty interesting article. Well, how good at chiropractic is in dealing with low back pain. You could say, well, if I have chronic low back pain, I'll just take pills and then my back pain will go away, maybe. Well, we've got a couple of articles about that. Chronic spine pain, they took a research article out of the journal Spine in 2003. They had one group that took medications including Celebrex and Vioxx, kind of probably not a good idea, huh? A chiropractic group and an acupuncture group. By the way, the article started by talking about the side effects of the nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories. The adverse reactions to nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory medications have been well documented. Gastrointestinal toxicity from these drugs is one of the most common serious side effects in the industrialized world. So even though people are popping these pills by the millions every day, it's one of the most serious side effect medications that we have out there. Bad deal. Okay. So they treated these patients for 9 weeks, 9 weeks of drugs, 9 weeks of chiropractic, 9 weeks of acupuncture. How'd we do? The chiropractic adjusting group got complete asymptomatic 27% of the time, acupuncture 9% of the time, and drugs 5%. but it gets way better. The chiropractic group, with all of these accepted, regimented ways of analyzing improvements, they had 50% improvements on an Oswestry scale, on the neck disability index of 47% improvement, short form 36 was 47%, visual analog scale 50%, and so on and so forth. The chiropractic group outperformed the drug group by a factor of 5. Chiropractic was 5 times more effective than Celebrex and Vioxx in relieving chronic low back pain. Pretty cool. Side effects in this study, 0. Side effects from the drug, we already discussed that. Well, this article gets better, because what they did with this group is they followed up 1 year later. So they stopped the drugs, stopped the chiropractic, and by the way, acupuncture also did better than drugs. They stopped the acupuncture, and they followed up with these folks a year later. Only the chiropractic group revealed a broad-based long-term benefit a year after treatment stopped. 5 to 7 of those outcome measures, those ways that they analyze information, 5 to 7 of them showed significant improvements a year later as compared to only 1 item in the acupuncture and drug groups. Conclusion: in chronic pain, chiropractic care is the only treatment modality of the assessed regimens that provides broad and significant long-term benefit. So what I just told you is if you have chronic spine problems, chronic low back pain, it shrinks your brain. If you have chronic low back pain, the best way to deal with that is chiropractic. It's 5 times better than drugs without the side effects of drugs, and it's the only one that shows significant long-term benefit. That's really cool. Here's another thing, here's another reason to go to a chiropractic on a wellness and prevention basis, is posture. This article here is going to tell us this. If your posture is terrible, we call this hyperkyphosis. If your posture is terrible, the worse it is, the younger age you will die. Literally, that's what this article is telling you right here. The title of the article, Hyperkyphosis Predicts Mortality Independent of Osteoporosis in Older Women. The journal is Annals of Internal Medicine in 2009. It was a follow-up of 13 and a half years. That's a long study. The conclusion of this article: in older women, in this case with vertebral fractures, hyperkyphosis, so that terrible posture that you think about when you're thinking of posture, predicts an increased risk of death, independent of underlying osteoporosis and extent of the fractures. So once again, translating that for you, the more your posture slouches over, you're not going to live as long. It's as simple as that. These research articles, and there are many more, we just don't have time to get into them all, these are indicating that the worse your spine is, it's going to shrink your brain and take years off your life. Not only that, it's going to take quality out of your life as well. These are reasons to see a chiropractor. Now, a lot of people might think, well, you're just saying that just to make more money, Dr. Fuller. And I'll tell you what, I make more money in acute care. The auto mechanic makes more money on your seized engine than they do on an oil change. Your dentist makes more money on a root canal than they do on a cleaning. But they still do these maintenance things because it's just the right thing to do. Let me talk about a few patients that have talked about improvements under chiropractic care in my office. This was written by a woman with terrible scoliosis, 64-degree scoliosis, so a 64-degree buckle, chronic neck and back pain. And she says, I had chronic pains. I didn't believe that there could be ever a time where I would not have pain on a daily basis, but due to the work that Dr. Fuller did, coupled with me staying consistent with the exercise program, I am now virtually pain-free. Now, her scoliosis isn't gone, but she's living pain-free now, and that's a big thing. 1.5-year-old Haley had 15 ear infections in 12 months. With chiropractic care, her ear infections were gone, never to return. I have more patients that wrote down testimonials regarding their children with nonverbal learning disorder and ADHD improving under chiropractic care. In conclusion, the best time to go to a chiropractor is for wellness and prevention care, and it's also a good thing to bring in your children on an ongoing basis. I'm Dr. Scott Fuller. Please join me again.